In the meantime, there's an ongoing debate as to what to do with the refugees. In Europe alone, you have 800,000 men, women, and children who have crossed the continent. The United States is having its own debate now. Perhaps our country could take as many as 10,000. That is the request. At the moment, however, more than 30 governors, mostly Republican, but some Democrats as well, suggesting that this program should not happen, at least for now. Here's two of them.
We have received almost little or no security information about those refugees, on their backgrounds, even possibly their names in certain circumstances.
We're probably the best melting pot in the world, Florida is. Let's find out what happened, especially when you know one of the terrorists was posed as a refugee.
Rick Scott there in Florida. With me now is the former Florida governor, Jeb Bush, live today in Charleston, South Carolina. And, sir, thank you for your time today. I know there's a bit of a delay on the satellite signal, so we'll try and do our best here. Yesterday, you said you support, at one point, the governor's decision. And at another point, you said we should take in refugees. And just want a clarification about where you are on this issue today, Governor.
Well, there's no need for clarification. I've been consistent. I think that there should be a pause. The Obama administration hasn't sent a clear signal of what the vetting process is, and governors have a legitimate concern about that. I also think that there's a humanitarian crisis. If you're a Christian in the Middle East, you're being beheaded. But for us, who? Who but the United States will provide support for the persecuted? And I think there's ways to do this. Ultimately, though, the issue needs to be resolved in the region. We need safe zones in Syria. This president and his Secretary of State want to double down on a policy that has failed. This humanitarian crisis is created because the United States' credibility is zero in the Middle East right now because of red lines and no support for the Syrian Free Army, and chaos has ensued. We need to lead a coalition to take out ISIS if we're serious about dealing with the threats in our homeland.
If I could just be clear on this point, Governor, at one point in the last couple of days you said women and children should be accepted. And at one point I believe you said the Christians should be a priority. But now you're saying that there should be a pause in this policy until we can get a better program in place. Is that accurate?
I think what the Obama administration needs to do is to answer Governor Scott's question, which was right before our conversation here, which is, what is the criteria? How do they go about screening? Now we see that there was someone embedded amongst refugees that made their way to Paris that was part of an effort to kill 129 innocent people. That's a legitimate issue that needs to be resolved. And ultimately, we'll get back to the business of helping a small number of people that desperately need help. That's part of what we've done as a country. But I think the bigger issue is, what are we going to do about Islamic terrorists?
I get it. Yeah, and you would deny that you changed your position on this. That is what you're saying, right? You're saying that you have been consistent for the past 3 or 4 days. Oh.
Absolutely. And this is a huge challenge for our country, and the solution is American leadership to take out Islamic terrorism in a way that brings the world together to do so. We'll always have this problem unless we confront this great challenge of our time. They've declared war on us. We need to declare war on them.
Mm-hmm. The president said people like you might be scared of widows and 3-year-old orphans. What do you say to that?
I think he needs to explain to the American people what the vetting process is to allow widows and orphans to come in and make sure that terrorists don't. It's his responsibility to tell the American people and governors who are concerned about the security in their states what the plan is. And I haven't seen any evidence that he's done that. And meanwhile, he's been a party to creating a foreign policy that has allowed for a caliphate the size of Indiana to be formed that now is organized to destroy Western civilization. And he views it as a law enforcement exercise. And Hillary Clinton, in the last couple of weeks in South Carolina, has said that she would not be more aggressive in her foreign policy. We need to change course very quickly.
Governor, you're about to deliver a major speech today. And originally, I believe the nature of that speech was about rebuilding the military. And apparently that focus has changed, and it would be more about ISIS today. You have the opportunity now as a candidate to explain the American people. You mentioned the safe zones. But what would you do specifically to defeat ISIS, Governor?
I believe we need to lead. We need to have more than just 50 special operators. We need to create a coalition of Arab countries as well as Europe to create a strategy well defined by the military, not by the politicians, to destroy ISIS, which means safe zones, it means a no-fly zone, it means arming directly the Kurds, it means enabling and reestablishing relationships with the Sunni tribal leaders, it means air controllers to make sure that our sorties are effective, and it means fierce force. It doesn't mean a law enforcement exercise. It means using the military to destroy ISIS, and we have the capability of doing this, and we should take it seriously and do it as a leader in the world, not by ourselves.
A fierce force. Governor Jeb Bush, we will stay tuned for more headlines from your speech today in South Carolina. Thank you for your time now.